They say they came to defend democracy. Marching with Artur Mas and his two associates towards Catalonia's High Court for questioning. The alleged crime? Going ahead with a referendum to separate Catalonia from Spain after a top court banned the vote.
I will be the first president of a democratic country to be judged under the penal code, only because we let people vote in Catalonia. So my feeling is that we are defending more than a Catalan issue. We are defending democracy.
If convicted, they could be banned from public office for up to 10 years. But the trial is already stoking the separatist quest. Catalonia is one of Spain's richest regions, with its own language and history. The separatists claim they contribute more to the Spanish economy than what they get from the state. But Madrid says the local government is corrupt and in debt. For the Catalans, the November 9th referendum in 2014 became a symbol of resistance. Local officials say more than 80% of voters backed an independent Catalonian state, though only 2.3 million people turned out from an estimated 5.5 million eligible voters. The plebiscite was officially only a consultation, but Spain's central government says the move defies the country's constitution, which legally enshrines the indissoluble unity of the Spanish nation. The Catalans say their democratic right to vote is being denied, and that Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy's refusal to hold a referendum makes him authoritarian.
No va a haber independencia de Cataluña. No la va a haber.
The region's new leader, Carles Puigdemont, has promised another vote in September with or without Madrid's consent. But the central government could respond by closing down public schools to stop polling or withhold civil servant salaries. It's an unprecedented standoff, and no side looks prepared to blink first. Sandra Gatman, The Newsmakers.
Well, to discuss this further, I'm joined by Adrià Alsina from Barcelona. He's a professor at Vic University and a campaigner for Catalan independence. We're also joined by Javier Nart. He's a member of the European Parliament, and he's joining us from Brussels. Mr. Nart, if I may start with you. Outside the courthouse, we saw some rather extraordinary scenes. 40,000 people, by some estimates, out in force to support Artur Mas. Tell me, do you think that the central government has made a mistake here in prosecuting him, perhaps making him a folk hero?
I mean, the central government can prosecute as much as they can, but the problem, or the point, it is the judges to decide. Public prosecutor in Spain presents a case, and then the judge decides if the case is correct to open a case, a criminal case or not. So the problem and the point is not the central government. The judiciary is independent in Spain. If you are using public assets privately, it's a crime, and you have to be prosecuted, and then the court is to decide. But the problem with nationalists is that they victimize themselves in the way that they present what is just a normal case, because they have theoretically broken the law and they are in front of a court as any other citizen of the world.
Okay.
But I am the representation of Catalonia. This is sociological franquism.
Let us pick up on that point then. Artur Mas says independence isn't on trial here, democracy is on trial, and he argues that it's essentially politically motivated. He didn't do anything wrong.
Well, let me say then,
yes,
Italy,
indeed,
and France and Germany, they are undemocratic countries because they don't accept referendums at their own nations, as well as all the countries in Europe or in the world, with the exception of Canada, the United Kingdom, and Ethiopia. So please, this is not a question of exceptionalism. It is a question of respecting the law. If you are out of the law, you are out of democracy. Because, I mean, no political idea in democracy could break the law, because the law is the scope. It is, let me say, the frame where civil rights and political rights have to develop.
Adrià Alsina, isn't that true? The law takes precedent over people's feelings and demands.
Well, yes, exactly. That's what happens in authoritarian states, that the people eventually have no say on the law and they have to abide by the law, whatever it happens. I think what we have here, and it's very important to understand, is that we have a political problem. We have a majority of Catalans expressed in their own parliament that want to vote, that want to decide on their relationship with the rest of Spain, with the Spanish state. And we have a Spanish state and a Spanish government that is not willing to take this decision seriously. So what the government, the Spanish government says, or what the Spanish government does, is to hide under the shield of the Spanish judiciary system. And the state attorney, and it's important to mark this as well, the state attorney is part of the Spanish government, is the one who started this whole process against Artur Mas because they couldn't stand a negotiation, a whole full-fledged negotiation like the one they had in the United Kingdom.
Javier Nart, I mean, let's deal with the Constitution. The Spanish government says it legally enshrines the indissoluble unity of the Spanish nation, so that, in a sense, it would prevent such a referendum from taking place. But of course, other people would argue that the Constitution is for the benefit of the people, and the people in Catalonia would like to see, overwhelmingly would like to see, a referendum.
Well, in the last three elections, even let me say, the so-called referendum of December 2016 and the two further elections that took place, separatists were minoritarian. Even they accepted that they failed. Thereafter, they said, well, we have more seats at the parliament. They had more seats at the parliament because they have no more votes. Inside Barcelona, inside Catalonia, in the countryside, they are overrepresented. That's quite logical because you cannot put the same representation in the town of Barcelona or in out Barcelona, because then Barcelona will be, as it is, more than half of Catalonia. But it doesn't mean that because we have more parliamentarians, they have a majority. And second, if there is a movement towards independence, my question is the following. If Barcelona, Hospitalet, Badalona, and Terrassa, and Sabadell, and Reus, and Tarragona, and many other places, they vote against, they have to be in favor of independence because in Lérida or in Gerona, they are in favor. We have to accept. I mean, there is a saying that Javier Arzayus, that was the former leader of the Basque nationalist country, he said, if we have more independence, we will have less territory. At the end, the problem is we are going to divide the people or not. And the point is that all the rest is just, let me say, in Catalonia, there is a terrible thing. Feelings are over, let me say, thinking. There has not been in Catalonia a single in-depth study about what are going to be the consequences of the independence of Catalonia. Trade, investment,
yes,
saving, because...
Let's pick that point up in Barcelona. Adrià Alsina, there are some major unknowns here.
Mr. Nart might not have read them. There's literally hundreds of books being printed every year on the subject of independence, pro and against independence. Mr. Nart himself has written extensively against independence, so I'm surprised that he's saying that there's no study on independence. Mr. Nart also said something very surprising, which is that in Barcelona there's no majority pro-referendum. In Barcelona there is a majority pro-referendum. We have a mayor that is a pro-referendum and has said it repeatedly. And in the whole of the country, not only we have a parliamentarian majority pro-referendum, but also an enormous majority of the votes that were cast in the elections of September 27 last year were also in favor of the referendum, not necessarily in favor of separation, but obviously in favor of the referendum. So Mr. Nart again is using the rhetoric of the Spanish government to hide away from a very clear political reality, which is there is a majority in Catalonia who demand something that's entirely possible within the Spanish constitutional frame, but the Spanish government does not will to negotiate over.
Let us look
which
to
is a referendum, which is giving the voice to the people. And
Okay.
this is a very clear political matter and political issue.
Let us look to the very near.
Hiding.
Let us look to the very near future. Javier Nart, Catalonia's current government, led by Carles Puigdemont, has promised to hold another referendum, one that he would say is binding by September. Let me ask you, if they go ahead with that, what can the Spanish government do to hold it back? And even if they did vote for independence, how on earth could they achieve this aim?
I mean, the actual government is very happy about the Spanish legality because it will mean the impossibility of holding up a referendum that they will lose because the majority, in accordance with the polls, they know that from time to time is dwindling pro-independence. So what they need today is that the referendum is forbidden. And the referendum has to be forbidden because it is against the frame of, let me say, what is the, not the legality, but the common understanding of the Spaniards, that is the Constitution.
Thank you for your participation. Adrià Alsina, thank
you
you also. Apologise for the time limitations, but we are at the end. Thank you.